All right, buckle up, because today we're diving into Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Ooh, Dorian Gray.
Yeah, a classic tale of beauty, morality.
And the dark side of human nature.
Exactly. And we got some fascinating excerpts from you guys.
The listeners, yeah.
That take us right into the heart of Dorian's, his descent into...
Feminism.
Yeah, all the drama that comes with it.
It's like a roadmap to his downfall.
And a mirror reflecting Victorian society.
His values.
Its hypocrisy.
Oh, yeah, all of that juicy stuff.
So, just to set the stage, we've got our key players.
Dorian, obviously.
Handsome, charming.
And completely obsessed with staying young.
Then there's Basil, the artist, who's like head over heels for Dorian.
To the point of pouring his soul into that infamous portrait.
And of course, we can't forget Lord Henry.
Ultimate dandy.
With all the wit and cynicism you'd expect from an Oscar Wilde character.
He's the one who really gets the ball rolling,
That's the whole.
With his philosophy of pleasure above all else.
It's almost like Wilde is poking fun at the Victorian upper class, right?
You got it.
All their obsession with appearances.
While hiding all sorts of dark secrets underneath.
Which makes me think about the portrait in a whole new light.
It's not just a cool plot device.
Because Wilde is saying that in Victorian society.
Everyone was hiding their true selves.
Behind these carefully constructed facades.
Like masks.
And Dorian takes that to the extreme.
Because he literally gets to hide the consequences of his actions.
While everyone else has to deal with wrinkles and aging and...
reality. It's like Wilde is giving Dorian this supernatural ability...
to embody the very thing Victorian society valued most.
Youth and beauty.
And by doing that, he exposes how hollow that pursuit really is.
Absolutely.
So, okay, we've got this portrait, which is basically...
it's like a visual representation of Dorian's soul.
Right. And then we've got this whirlwind romance with Sybil Vane.
The young actress.
Dorian is just completely smitten with her.
With her talent, with her beauty.
But does he really see Sybil?
As a person, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's drawn to her art, to her ability to transform on stage.
But when Sybil falls for Dorian, when her acting suffers because of her genuine love...
he rejects her.
Brutally.
And that's when the portrait changes for the first time.
It's subtle.
But Wilde makes it clear that Dorian's cruelty has left its mark.
Remember that line about a touch of cruelty around the mouth?
Ooh, yeah, that line is chilling.
It's like foreshadowing,
Like even before anything truly awful happens.
Wilde is hinting at the darkness to come.
And this whole thing with Sybil, it's more than just a love story gone wrong.
It makes you think about how beauty can be corrupted.
How someone so charming and seemingly innocent like Dorian
can become so cruel.
So quickly.
And this is where Lord Henry's influence starts to become really strong.
Oh, yeah, all those witty little sayings he throws around.
They sound delightful, but they're dangerous.
Like poison-coated candy.
Chipping away at Dorian's moral.
It's like he's giving Dorian permission to indulge every whim.
To see himself as above conventional morality.
Okay, but imagine this playing out in today's world. With social media and everything.
Ooh, that's an interesting thought.
Would Dorian be an influencer? Posting these perfect photos while his life is falling apart behind the scenes.
It's kind of terrifying to think about.
Right, but it also shows how timeless Wilde's themes are.
He was writing about Victorian England, but he's really talking about human nature.
Our obsession with youth and beauty.
The power of appearances.
And what happens when desire goes unchecked.
Exactly.
So, okay, we've got Dorian on this downward spiral, influenced by Lord Henry.
Haunted by the changing portrait.
And he's trying to drown it all out with pleasure.
But it's like a bottomless pit.
It never seems to be enough.
He keeps chasing after new experiences, new thrills.
But nothing brings him lasting peace.
It's like he's addicted to beauty, but the more he chases after it,
the emptier he becomes.
Exactly.
It's a vicious cycle.
And it's only going to get darker from here.
Okay, I'm officially hooked. Bring on the drama. And that's where Wilde really gets you.
Yeah.
He doesn't just tell us about Dorian's, his downfall.
Mm-hmm.
He makes us feel it.
Oh, I definitely felt it.
Those descriptions of the portrait.
Ugh, so creepy.
How does he put it?
Something about...
The leprosies of sin.
Oh, yeah.
Spreading across the canvas.
Like it's literally decaying.
Right.
It's like we're right there in the attic with Dorian.
Smelling the
decay.
Yeah, the decay. Feeling the horror.
It's so vivid.
Like you can almost smell it.
Ugh, don't remind me. But it makes you think, about the secrets we all carry.
Ooh, that's deep.
The things we try to hide from the world.
Even from ourselves.
And Dorian just takes it to
the extreme.
Yeah, but is he really that different from us?
That's the question, isn't it?
I mean, what if we all had a portrait in the attic?
Reflecting our true selves.
Would we be so quick to judge Dorian then?
I don't know.
Like, Wilde is exploring this tension, between our outward appearances.
And our inner lives.
Exactly.
The pressure to conform.
To present this perfect image to the world.
Even if it means sacrificing who we really are.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to need a minute to process all that.
Take your time.
But before I spiral into an existential crisis, can we talk about some of the
What?
the specific objects that Wilde uses, to symbolize Dorian's?
His moral decline?
Yeah, exactly. Like that yellow book Lord Henry gives him.
Ah, yes, the infamous Yellow Book.
I can't remember the title.
He never actually names it,
Really?
but a lot of people think it's based on a real book
Oh.
by Joris Karl Huysmans.
Okay.
Arabor, I think it was called,
Uh-huh.
which means against nature in English.
Oh, I see.
It was quite scandalous at the time.
Yeah, that sounds like Lord Henry.
It was all about
What?
this idea of aestheticism,
Okay.
putting beauty and pleasure above everything else.
I mean, that tracks with what we've seen so far.
And for Dorian, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Oh, yeah.
He's already so influenced by Lord Henry,
Totally.
And then this book just pushes him further down that path.
And it's not just the book, right?
No.
There's all these other objects, too.
The perfumes, the jewels.
Oh, and the tapestries.
Yes. He surrounds himself with all these beautiful things.
But is it making him happy?
That's the question, isn't it?
He's like what's the word?
Collector.
Yes. A collector of experiences, of beautiful things.
But it's all surface level.
He's lost the ability to really connect, to feel genuine joy.
It's like he's going through the motions.
And speaking of going through the motions, didn't Dorian get obsessed with religion at some point?
He did.
For like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was brief.
But I remember thinking, what is he doing?
Well, he even considers converting to Catholicism.
Really?
Yeah, he's drawn to the ritual, the drama, the idea of confessing his sins and being absolved.
But like everything else, it becomes just another thing to consume.
He wants the forgiveness without the actual repentance.
Yeah, it backfires spectacularly.
Yeah.
It's like he wants to look good without doing the actual work.
That's an interesting point.
It makes me think about how we approach morality,
In general.
Yeah, are we actually living by our values?
Or are we just trying to look good?
It's a tough question.
It is.
Okay, I'm going to need to ponder that one for a bit.
Take your time.
But can we talk about some of the other characters?
You mean besides Dorian?
Yeah, they're not just background noise, right?
No. They each play a role in shaping his destiny.
Like Basil, for example.
The artist.
There's so much going on with him.
Oh, yeah.
He's clearly in love with Dorian.
But it's more than just romantic love.
Right?
It's like he sees Dorian as his muse, his masterpiece.
And he's horrified by what Dorian is becoming.
Absolutely.
It's almost like a parent watching their child go down the wrong path.
And it's so interesting how Wilde contrasts Basil with Lord Henry.
You mean in terms of their relationships with Dorian?
Exactly.
Basil genuinely cares about Dorian.
While Lord Henry is more,
Detached?
Yes, detached. Almost like he's conducting an experiment.
Like Dorian is his little science project.
Yeah, something like that.
And then there's Sybil Vane.
Poor Sybil.
She may not be in the story for long, but
Her impact is huge.
her death really sets Dorian on this downward spiral.
And it shows us his capacity for cruelty.
Right.
His willingness to discard people who no longer serve him.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
And then there's her brother, James.
No.
He becomes this looming threat.
A reminder that Dorian can't escape his past.
Exactly.
Like a physical manifestation of his guilt.
It's like he's being haunted by his own actions.
And that sense of dread just builds as the story goes on.
Right. Like something bad is going to happen.
It's inevitable.
Okay, I'm starting to get nervous for Dorian now.
Even though he's fictional.
I know. I know, but I can't help but feel for him.
That's the power of good writing.
It makes us care about these characters, even when they're making terrible choices.
Even when we know they're headed for disaster.
So, we talked about Basil, Sybil, James.
Mm-hmm.
But can we go back to Lord Henry for a second?
What about him?
I'm still trying to figure him out.
He's a tricky one.
Is he evil? Or is he just...
Dord.
Yeah, like a bored aristocrat looking for some amusement.
He's definitely charismatic.
And witty.
But there's a coldness to him, too.
Like a detachment.
That makes you question his motives.
Right.
Like, what is he really after?
All those things he says.
About beauty, about morality. They're so paradoxical.
Like, the only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it.
What does that even mean?
Is he trying to corrupt Dorian?
Or is he just playing mind games?
It's hard to say for sure.
Maybe he doesn't even know himself.
Maybe.
He just enjoys watching the chaos unfold.
It's like he sees Dorian as an experiment.
Right?
To see how far he can push him.
And the tragedy is that Dorian falls for it.
Hook, line, and sinker. He's blinded by Lord Henry's charm.
Seduced by his promises of a life without consequences.
And that's ultimately what leads to his downfall.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here.
What do you mean?
Appearances versus reality.
Mm-hmm.
The power of manipulation.
Yeah.
The consequences of unchecked desire.
It's all there.
Wilde is really packing a lot into this story,
He is.
and we've only just scratched the surface.
There's so much more to explore.
I'm ready for it. Bring it on.
All right, let's go deeper.
Through all this talk about the characters and the themes and everything, I keep coming back to that portrait.
Yeah.
It's like more than just a creepy painting in the attic.
All right.
It's like it's alive somehow.
It is, kind of.
A living, breathing representation of Dorian's soul.
Exactly.
The one thing he can never truly escape, no matter how hard he tries.
It's a constant reminder, that we can't hide from who we really are.
Ooh, that's deep.
No matter how much we try to cover it up.
With beauty, with pleasure.
It all eventually comes out.
It makes me think about how Wilde contrasts, Dorian's obsession with staying young, with the portrait getting older and older.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying that true aging isn't just about wrinkles.
It's about the experiences we accumulate.
The good and the bad.
It shapes who we become.
And Dorian, but trying to avoid aging.
He's denying himself the opportunity to really grow.
Yeah, to learn from his mistakes.
To become a better person.
Which kind of makes you wonder, what's the point of eternal youth?
If your soul is, if you're not actually living a meaningful life.
That's like Wilde is asking, what's the point of looking good?
If you're a terrible person on the inside.
And it makes me think about how much we try to cling to the past.
Yeah.
To
recapture our youth.
Yeah, maybe true beauty is about accepting the journey,
the ups and downs,
wrinkles and all.
I think Wilde would agree with you there.
He seems to be saying that real beauty is about embracing the natural flow of life.
With all its imperfections.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
It's all part of the process.
But do you think,
What?
do you think Dorian has any chance of, redeeming himself at this point?
Redemption, huh?
I mean, he's done some pretty messed up things.
He has.
It's a tough question.
It is.
I'm not sure I have an answer.
I think Wilde leaves it open to interpretation.
Yeah, there are moments where Dorian seems to, to feel remorse.
Like he realizes he's screwed up.
But is it genuine?
Or is it just another fleeting emotion?
Like he's playing a part.
It's hard to say.
It's like every time he gets close to facing the consequences.
He finds a way to avoid them.
To justify his actions.
To distract us.
He's almost afraid of his own conscience.
Yeah, he's become so good at lying to himself.
That he can't even recognize the truth anymore.
He's trapped in this cycle of denial.
And it's only a matter of time before it all catches up to him. Okay, so this is all pretty heavy stuff,
It is.
It's like Wilde is showing us the dark side of what it means to be human.
Our capacity for self-deception.
The way we can convince ourselves that we're not responsible for our action.
Even when it's clear that we are.
And it's not just about Dorian.
No, it's a critique of society as a whole.
The hypocrisy, the obsession with appearances.
The willingness to ignore the ugly truth.
As long as it's hidden behind a pretty facade.
It's a timeless message.
That's still relevant today.
Maybe even more so.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, can we talk about the ending for a second?
You mean the whole portrait-destroying suicide thing?
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
It is, yeah.
What do you think Wilde is trying to say with that?
I think it's like the culmination of everything, all the themes we've been talking about.
Beauty, morality, the consequences of our actions.
It all comes to a head in that final scene.
Dorian finally confronts the truth about himself.
The ugliness he's been trying to hide.
But it's too late.
He's gone too far.
The only way out is death.
And even in death.
He can't escape what he's done.
His beauty is restored.
But his body is twisted and withered.
A reflection of his corrupted soul.
Like Wilde is saying, you can't cheat death.
The truth will always come out.
It sends shivers down my spine just thinking about it.
It's a powerful image.
It makes you think about the choices we make.
The secrets we keep.
The impact our actions have on others.
And on ourselves.
Are we living authentic?
Or are we just creating a facade?
Like Dorian.
Trying to hide the ugliness within.
It's a question we all have to answer.
And there's no easy answer.
But I think the picture of Dorian Gray gives us a lot to think about.
It's a cautionary tale.
A reminder that true beauty isn't about what's on the outside.
It's about the integrity of our character.
Our compassion, our courage.
Our willingness to face our own darkness.
Wow, that's a perfect way to put it.
I'm glad you think so.
Well, this has been an incredible journey. A huge thank you to you for guiding us through the world of Oscar Wilde.
It's been my pleasure.
And to you, our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope you've enjoyed it.
And that it's given you a new perspective on this timeless masterpiece.
It's a book that stays with you.
Long after you finish reading it.
It makes you think about the world.
And about yourself.
And the choices we all make.
So, until next time.
Keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
And keep diving deep.